don't want to be like mean to them, and then they be mean back. I don't want to disrespect.
I mean, that's
possible.
I mean, everything is a reflection. So the energy you put out is the energy you receive.
I'm sorry, ladies. I like y'all. Y'all look real nice and colorful. My hair matches yours. I mean, sis is dark skinned like me. Sis is naked the way I like to be naked. Blue used to be my favorite color when I was younger. But that's it. That's all I got.
But those like that, all of that is important, right? So like, say for example, like within like the workshop space, everything that you just pointed out is great, because if this reading is for you, and we look at this is called bottom of the deck energy, right? So the bottom of the deck is the Lover's card. So Lover's card deals with union, deals with partnerships, deals with romance. Usually, it can deal with other aspects of partnership and unity, but most of the time, 9 times out of 10, is going to deal with romance. Now, remember when I said card positioning?
Romance is fucking me up recently.
Card positioning is important. So from the perspective of the reader, I look and I see the Two of Wands is held far over the energy of this card. This card is ramping up, like it's on an upward journey. This one is bridging across, and then these two are facing me like normal. So how I read that is there's an increase in your intentionality behind your connection with yourself and the way that you spoil yourself, right? So under the guise of like relationships, when I come back to the person, the seeker, or the person I'm doing the reading for, I'm gonna be like, so what I'm seeing here is that you're going through a time right now where you're really trying to figure out what serves you and what pours into you. Because when we look at the 9 of Cups, it's 9 cups, all these cups are being poured on her. She's literally trying to process what's being poured into herself. That connection you made about the hair just affirms that for me, that yeah, this card is really speaking to you, and this is in process. When I see cards fall like this, I go, oh, this is in transit. So this transit is leading me here. The here that it's leading me to is the World card, which deals with accomplishment, and the Moon card, which deals with fear. So we're being confronted with our fear of accomplishment. What does it look like if I actually get the thing that I want? And in respect to the Lover's card, so you see what just happened.
That's fucking me up.
So you see what just happened? You see what
this
just
is why
happened?
people can't see her for an hour and a half and do this shit, because that's wild. It took fucking 2 minutes. Sorry, y'all. I apologize if I put
we're reading cards over here, my fault. But you see what I'm saying? So it's like, it only takes like how much you took from it as far as you seeing yourself. Even before you gave me that information, I had what I had in my head. But through your confirmation of what you're getting from that, when I supply the messaging, it hits you that much harder, because you're like, damn, I did see that, but now I know what it was I was seeing. You get what I mean? And like I said earlier, everything that I said to you, you already know. So there's nothing, I'm not giving you new information, I'm affirming for you, this is actually a focus, this is actually important. You need to stop distracting yourself from this thing and trying to tell yourself that this other shit is more important, because Spirit is confirming for you, no, this is actually an important part of your development right now, is figuring out what works for you. And that requires you pouring almost entirely into yourself, because the only card above the 9 of Cups is the 10 of Cups. So this is where I get, it's like super technical. The only card that's more than this is the full thing, which says 90% of the work of you feeling fulfilled is going to come from you. Only 10% is going to come from this partner. So creating a plan for figuring out partnership and how that aligns with you and spending all that time and energy is disproportionate to how it's going to serve you when it shows up. So the exchange is off. So you're never going to feel fulfilled when those partnerships show up, because you're going to feel like you're pouring out a certain amount and you're not getting enough back, because you're supposed to be supplying that for yourself, not them. So when we pursue the 90% of self, when the 10% shows up, granted, any person is far more than 10%, it's an overwhelming blessing. I can't believe how amazing this person is, because I only need them for 10%. So all the ways they show up in extra, I get to be surprised, I get to be grateful, I get to be overwhelmed with joy, because man, my partner just shows up for me and I don't even need them. Because 90% of whatever is going on with me in the day, I got it 9 times out of 10. Does that make sense? Now for me, like the experience thing goes deeper in, like I can look at the numbers here and I can start looking at like time frames and start estimating, okay, so like this, like we can start guesstimating like how long it would take in your process for you to run into an instance where you meet a person where that meeting, that's gonna be significant. It's not always relevant though. So it's like a lot of people get caught up in like, well, when? And it's like, that's not what I'm here to tell you. I know. So when you come back and you tell me, hey, this happened, I'm gonna be like, cool, right on time. That's affirming for me. But it's more important that you get there. So I'm only gonna give you what you need to get on the journey. The rest of it's yours.
It would probably be hella beneficial if I could do this on a day-to-day. I'd probably stop making a lot of bad decisions.
Most of the bad decisions we make are because we question ourselves as far as like the judgment to do the opposite thing. You know what I mean? So it's like you get in trouble because you go, I should take the trash out. XYZ. And you go with the XYZ. If you went with the first thing, the trash would be done, the waste is out of the room. So now the room benefits from the waste being removed from the room. Anything that occurs outside of that is a result of the waste being in the room for too long. You should have gone with your first intuitive thought. You chose to question it, which was you not trusting yourself in favor of other options that have been presented to you by the outside, by the external.
So the cards help you trust yourself?
Absolutely.
Say that to the
Absolutely.
camera. Say that to the camera.
Say that to the camera. The cards help you trust. No, the cards help me trust myself. Like they really help me understand and go with my gut feeling. And really, like, I think more important than going with my gut feeling is distinguishing gut feelings from fear in my gut. So like oftentimes, like when you think about butterflies, where do you get butterflies?
In my stomach.
Right, but then people be like, trust your gut. How the fuck do I trust my gut if I don't know what that feeling means? All I know is I feel uncomfortable. Like, so you have to go through experiences, and having the cards for me present while going through those experiences and aligning the reference points helped me learn how my body speaks to me. You know what I mean? But it's like that tarot shit, like all of it literally comes back to the individual. I don't believe in tarot. It's this shit. We're talking about this shit. We're trying to build up this shit. This is just a really cool tool to get there. These are weights. You know what I mean? This is my gym.
What else you want to get on? What else you want to get on?
That might be better than what we got over there.
Just recording.
Yeah, he's once he sets up the shot, he's barely here. Yeah.
What?
Once I set up the shot, that shit up.
Yeah. Everything else is just editing.
When I shoot with Q, I'm in your position.
Yeah.
That's it.
Asking questions, prompts. You know what I mean?
Responding to what that nigga saying. That's it.
So you see what I mean? Like, I love when that happens.
And it stay being them niggas. Oh, look at all them titties. Oh my God. Of course. Look at all them titties. Oh my goodness. Of course it's me.
So Hangman talks about the bottom of the deck energy again. Hangman talks about being suspended in air, right? So the idea that we're like waiting, like we're waiting, but we're not within our power to change the circumstance. You know what I mean? That being said, so 8 of Wands, 6 of Cups says, and then Temperance, 9 of Swords. So there's an attachment, like literally in your past, where like the speediness of things has translated to the like good of things. And so you literally associate like slow and steady with fear and anxiety and nervousness and not knowing. So 8 of Wands, 6 of Cups to me says like, 6 of Cups is remembrance or like nostalgia. 8 of Wands is like fast movement, travel, things of that nature. Hangman, 6 of Wands, nostalgia, and then Temperance, 9 of Swords. So actually, I'm gonna take back what I said. Actually, this seems to state that like a lot of power is in your hands and you're not doing anything with it. So 8 of Wands, 6 of Cups says more so like remembering an explorative time, like a time when we were a lot more explorative, would lead to a space where we were less anxious. Oh, so this has to do with you not moving on things. So you like basically you have like that instinctual thing that's like, hey, you should move. And you stop. and like try to wait for a definitive signal of like danger so you have an excuse or a reason to move, which contributes to your anxiety because the only thing you can be on alert for now is danger. You get what I'm saying? So if you're always only looking for danger for the reason to move, then you're only ever looking for danger, and your brain is now being attuned to fear at all times. You get what I'm saying? What this talks about is like there was a point in time where you did not move with fear. You just kind of did. You know what I mean? Now I think with the Hanged Man, what's like, I wouldn't say like confusing about it, but where the duality of the Hanged Man comes in is like, you're avoiding doing this because it causes feeling, but you're feeling this because you're in this feeling right now. Does that make sense? So it's like, at one point you thought that like running headfirst into the wall was not serving you well, so you stopped doing it and started trying to like be real careful and cautious in it. But we've gotten so far away from who we actually are that this is no longer serving you. Like, it's nice to have another side of the perspective, but like be yourself at the same time.
That's fair. That's fair. Cause can I say something? Yeah. Somebody did tell me not too long ago. He was just like, yo, you jump in like all the way in the pool. You do not stick your toe in, and that's dangerous as fuck. Like, I wish you would like just stick your toe in and be a little more cautious when you do shit. But when you do stuff, you go all the way in. And they told me like, yo, I wish like you can do other things too. And I'm just
sure.
Like,
but is that who you are? Or is that their fear being put on you?
I don't know. It's a very confusing time in my life right now.
And that's why I always, to go back to what we were talking about earlier, that's why the meditation aspect is so key. Because there are so many, and this is, so the coffee shop lady, it was the same thing. The purpose for sitting in silence is so that you can get away from what you've been doing for long enough to remember or realize whether or not it's a reaction to something or you really wanted to do it. In her case, she had been moving a certain way in relationships so long to service the fact that there isn't a masculine partner present. She doesn't even know if she's just a more masculine person or she's just doing it because she's not had a partner for so long. And in that, she's not going to be able to know what her partner should be because she's believing that things that she's doing are who she is rather than just things that have to be done, which would make it very hard for her to let go and allow someone else to do. So when it comes to this, it's like by somebody else saying like, hey, I wish you wouldn't, and you should do things more like this because of their fear of your experience, which is not theirs. It puts you in a situation where you're no longer being true to yourself. You're honoring this other person's perspective rather than your own. That's where the fear and anxiety comes from. The same thing that made them afraid is the same thing that gave you security, diving in all the way. Because you know, I'm gonna always figure out how to swim. For whatever reason, when he was thrown in water, he's not had that confidence, so he's like, nah, toes first. But don't let that person's perspective on life and what they experience change what you know to be true for you. And so I think like even when we relate that back to what we were getting at before, it's like what we're waiting on as far as partnership. Maybe it's not showing up because people are noticing that we only are showing up giving 10, 20, 30%. And it's like, if you give a perception person credit, like I could see you not giving me your full self. I'm gonna go where I can get a full self because I'm showing up 100%. You're doing this guarded thing. It's wasting my time. I'm holler at me later. You see what I'm saying? So your temperance, your attempt to like self-regulate and keep yourself in check as far as like, oh, let me not do too much. That's what's actually causing the harm. The first time, what that person was responding to is what freaked them out. But like, there's no such thing as like a man telling you, men do this. Men receive information this way. You receive information this way. You aren't confident, so when someone shows up 100%, you think they have ulterior motives. Like but that's a you thing. It's not your problem. Make sense?
Is top of the deck a thing? Because you called that
Not particularly.
bottom of the deck. Okay.
I mean, like, it can be if you want it to be, but it's not particular. To me, it's like I focus on what is being shown to me.
Okay.
Because if that was the case, it's like middle of the deck, quarter way of the deck. Like, how do you determine? You know what I'm saying? To me, I take bottom of the deck because bottom of the deck is after the shuffle. To me, it's like it's the first card that dropped technically. It just didn't drop outside here. Then everything that comes out is like, oh, you definitely want me to pay attention to that.
How long have you been doing this?
3-4 years. Yeah, I want to say I was in DC for like maybe a year before I actually started like reading. I've been reading people for a long time. That's like a lot longer than 3 or 4 years. I've been reading people since I was a kid. Reading people is actually how it's how I moved socially. Like I needed this to feel safe because like, all right, I don't remember, I was talking about this to my cousin the other day. I don't remember the exact instance that it happened, but I know that there was a time when I was a child where I either said something to my parents or I said something to someone else. Before it happened, people freaked out and I was like, I shouldn't do that anymore, and I stopped. So internally, that process is how I like gauge like getting to know people, what relationships I should pour into, shouldn't pour into. I'm constantly getting that information. I just didn't realize it was beneficial to anybody else. Like I thought it was just a me thing. But you start realizing that like those things that you want to say with the people who actually love and support you and see you, those are actually welcome things, as opposed to like what may have happened with parents or peers when I was younger, which is fear and like, how did you know that? That was weird, or sometimes they discredit you. You only knew that because one of the worst things that can happen when you're growing up is like people telling you how like smart you are. Because when the people reduce it to intelligence, they're discounting anything else that shows up with it. So if your intuition comes by way of emotion, comes by way of your creative expression, people glorifying those things, it's like if I said like this and you're like, oh, I can feel your fingers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're so sensitive. And then it's like the amount of like focus on that would discredit you, because now you're like, I have super sensitive skin. Is this my superpower? Is this my way of like moving through the world? And it's like now you're ignoring the things that actually were leading you through the world because I projected on you. This is what that feeling is. So that's probably, like I said, something like that happened to me when I was a kid, and I just stopped talking about it. And then like way later, I was like, oh, this is useful. See, bet. So Page of Wands is like a messenger of like passion-related things. So like generally like journeys of creativity or passion. So like, not when I say passion, I don't mean like relationship or like romantic passion, but rather like life's purpose type passion. And there's a progression of like balance occurring. And so the Two of Pentacles shows up and is like, yo, in reference to what we were talking about before, it doesn't even serve you to be really like super focused on this right now, because there's a balance that is being like felt out that someone can't stand in right now. Like the it's too rocky. You know what I mean? The waters are choppy in that sense. So it's like, if you don't know what smooth sailing looks like, how is someone going to be able to be a partner to you? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They're stepping in at a moment of chaos.
Damn!
So they're only helpful as far as the chaos occurs.
You know, I feel like a person has to be like mentally I haven't like been writing music intentionally because I'm scared of what's gonna come out, and it feels like what this is right now. Like I feel like a person coming to you has to be really prepared for the work they have to do after they leave you. And I feel like that's what the music is for me. I feel like the music and writing is just like me expressing like what the creator is giving me and what I really don't be trying to say to myself or what I be trying to ignore. And so like after you sitting here and affirming all these things, for me it's just like, bitch, you really gotta go do the work now. It's okay. But it's like you said about going to the gym. It's just like, it's gonna hurt a little bit, but you leave better, you leave stronger. And it's just like, shit.
The other thing I'll say is like, the volume only gets louder right? So similar to like let's take it like a syllabus. If your life has a syllabus and spirit's making its way through the thing, it's like we are not moving on to assignment 5 until you finish assignment 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if you wait until assignment 5 is due, I won't take assignment 5 until you turn in assignments 1, 2, 3, and 4. So like we can keep stacking this up, and eventually you're going to turn in all of this work. How miserable you are during the process of doing that work is entirely up to you. So the longer you take and the longer you avoid the things that you know that you receive messaging from, because that's, for me, like tarot made a lot more sense out of my artistic process. So for what I get here, most people do get it in their artistic forms because it's a form of divination. They just don't call it that, so they don't realize what it is that they're doing. But like, I don't think anyone creates anything. I think everyone is a channel for something else coming through. So if I'm a painter, if I'm a dancer, if I'm a flow state is when you don't even feel present. So then who's doing the painting? Who's doing the dance? Who's doing the thing? Spirit. So this should line up with the song that you had in your head that you hadn't started singing, or that you only got 2 bars in where it's like, I'm gonna hit the pause on that. It's gonna pop out here because it's just like squeezing the air of a closed balloon. The air is just gonna go to another place. And you can keep squeezing, it's gonna pop though. So it's like, it's your job to kind of like release the pressure before you get to that explosion point. Also, you will be held when you stop choosing to be the savior in every like interaction. So it's like illuminating the ways in which you are prepared and capable of taking care of others allows for others to take care of you in the way that you actually need, rather than them showing up in like performative ways that they think that you would want.
Wait, go back.
So 8 of Swords deals with like chosen prisons.
Chosen prisons?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So somebody saying like, oh, I can only be a manager because I have 10 years of manager experience. And it's like, bitch, a manager is a list of tasks. You can apply those tasks to different positions. You're not as stuck as you tell yourself. You are willingly being stuck in these job opportunities. So when you're willfully being stuck in the Sun and the Queen of Pentacles, a lot of this is like you're attached to seeing your value as it's portrayed in the relationship, as opposed to like, hey, what are you bringing to the table? So if you're spending all your time auditioning trying to be worthy, how do you know whether or not someone else is even worth your time? Do you know what I'm saying? So someone comes up, they're like, I like you. And you're like, oh my God, I hope I'm good enough. I need to be good enough. I need to be good enough. And it's like, stop. Start with, do you like them back? Like, they already like you. So the fact that you're good enough is what is the word? Take that for granted. Yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. You are good enough. They approached you, right? So it's like if I walk up to him like, yo, you're beautiful, I would love to know your name. You getting in your head, starting to freak out about that thing you forgot to do with your makeup this morning is dumb, because I literally just came up to you and did the thing that you thought the makeup was gonna do, and it wasn't the makeup. So if anything, you should take that as an extra pep in your step. Who are you though? Because you could get a compliment. This boy in my DM say I'm pretty. I know. You understand what I'm saying? So when it's like, this boy in my DM say I'm pretty, it's like, oh, I already know. So what else?
That's what the cards is giving? Mm-hmm. That's a sound right there.
That is why I like the way I read.
I like the way you read too.
Because it's like, who's going to tell you that and read it? This boy in my DM say I'm pretty. This boy in my DM say I'm pretty.
Amen.
I know.
How am I doing, Owen? How am I doing, Owen? Would you hire me to be a sidekick? Huh?
Yourself, and that's enough.
That's literally what he just read me, ain't it? My
Boom.
bad, bro.
That, right. You're being yourself, and that's enough.
Oh, okay.
And then the 5 of Cups is a card that literally says the same thing. So it's like, you look here, she looks all sad and depressed because there's 3 cups tilted over, but she still got 2 cups behind her, fine. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you so stressed over this, but you're not as far back as you think.
Yeah.
And the 2 cups is actually a really good place to be because it's balance. It's equality. You know what I'm saying?
I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and I realized have not been living in a place of abundance. Like realizing it's just like, bitch, there's abundance all around you, and you really not paying attention. Because I've been thinking like this one situation is like the end of the world. It really do be feeling like the end of the world, and it's not. I know it's not.
One of my most, at one point, the card that I was most afraid of popping up was 5 of coins, right? So 5 of coins deals with poverty, I associate it with being broke, right? So I'm like, poverty, I ain't got no money, I ain't got no opportunities, like da da da. It's now one of my favorite cards because my journey has proven to me that in every one of those circumstances, there was money all over the place. I was just choosing to look at this one spot where their money wasn't. And because of that, I'm missing all of this over here. So now when I get that card, it just tells me, oh, there's tons of shit around. I'm just not looking at it. And I have to change my perspective. So the 5 of Cups is like that same thing where you have the 3. It's so funny too because 3 of Cups deals with partnerships. So you have these overturned cups. And then the 2 of Cups, which deals with balanced partnership, is right behind her where it's like, nah, this is still fine. You worried about multiple people as if this isn't fine.
Oh my gosh.
This is the partnership that you need. This is community, and community doesn't require full cups anyway, so it's not really a problem. With the 5 of coins, the funniest thing about it representing poverty, it's halfway through the 10. So by definition, you can't possibly be broke. You're halfway to wealth. Same concept. We'll cut it there.
I was about to say, what else you want?
No.